Woke up and just felt right. Phone blown like a tailpipe. Today's schedule airtight.
Lots and lots of bullets.
So hey guys, it's Boom125 here, and I'm doing a video. I know it's been a long time since you've seen a video from me, so, hi, and if you haven't seen my channel before, welcome. But anyways, in the background you'll be seeing some Planetside 2 gameplay. In the first bit, you'll be seeing some commentary I was running with my outfit. Now, in case you haven't gathered by the title of the video, this is talking about a potential, what I would think would be a cool idea for a fourth faction. I'm not avid on the forums and whatnot, so if this idea has been talked about or was even turned down by the devs or whatever, I apologize. I'm probably just wasting space, and we'll get chewed out in the comments promptly for my lack of research on the topic. But if not, I'd like to open up what I think would be a cool idea, a cool suggestion, something that could happen on on Planetside. But anyways, yeah, so getting on to the topic, in case you can tell by the topic of the title of the video, this is talking about a fourth faction, and take into account everything I'm talking about. My experience with Planetside 2, other than YouTube and watching PC gameplay on YouTube, has been console, PS4. That's where I play. That's where I played since it came out on console. I followed the game since Planetside 2 was announced, and there was gameplay to watch on YouTube for it, like I said. But anyways, yes, moving on to the actual topic. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons for potentially doing a fourth faction under the NS Mercenaries, or just a faction similar to this. Now, a con that I see immediately is that the NC are already considered, mercenaries working under a corporation. But despite that being the case, they're also freedom fighters, for one. And two, I don't know if y'all saw that in the background. That was pretty cool, I won't lie. But or when it happened, it seemed amazing. Anyways, they're already mercenaries, so I don't know if that clashes kind of lore-wise. But NS hasn't had an issue, obviously, delivering arms to every faction in the game. And I know there's been a big push lately, at least what I'm hearing from Rel, to get more faction-specific things in the game. So this kind of contradicts that a little bit. Now, I guess we'll kind of go into the pros more or less. I'm going to kind of go back and forth, guys. I didn't really write anything down. I kind of thought about it. I've been thinking about it for a little bit. I just thought it was a cool idea. Couldn't see anything horribly wrong with this idea, where there's a fourth faction, the NS Mercenaries, and they wear, I don't know, black, white, and green and gold. I don't know. Those are colors that aren't used, and they're used with NS weapons. In the sense that, the NS weapons shoot green tracers. They have a variety of laser sights that are kind of decal, but their weapons seem to be white, black, and gold. So, that being a fourth faction would help with balancing, and I'm going to get into that in the sense that, say these NS mercenaries come into the game, right? Well, what do? Well, they help with population. I know population's been a big issue on every faction, at least on console. Definitely makes winning alerts difficult, not having good pop. It makes fights near impossible in some places, and that's just part of the reality. That's just being a smart gamer or a smart player, knowing your map and your environment. But that being said, taking that into account, alerts tend to be, at least on console, very one-sided as far as population goes, and the pop numbers aren't quite there the same way they are on PC, which is a shame, but is the case. And I think that's due to lack of marketing and other issues we're not going to really get into. But I'm saying having a fourth faction that where they go to fight, since they're mercenaries, is delegated on population. So the VS don't got enough for this alert. They throw them some NS mercenaries. Maybe now that the VS have enough, now the NC are kind of underpopped, they send them to the NC. And that's kind of how it works. Kind of giving the numbers back to the faction that needs them. They only use NS weapons. Maybe they just throw in a few NS specific weapons, or I'm not quite familiar with how they would do the weapons. I mean, obviously a lot of this would go up to the devs, and as they get into it, they break it down and figure out what they want to do. This is just kind of running over the concept of it, but my idea is, or my thinking is if you have a fourth faction that can just go to whatever faction needs numbers to help balance and give good fights, I think that would be a tremendous asset. Now, as far as vehicles go, maybe they use their own vehicles. Maybe they use the vehicles they're with on that specific faction, and then with the NS mercenaries, you just say they have the armor piercing with their main battle tank. It's equipped on their main battle tank, whatever faction they play. Does that kind of take away a bit of the revenue they'd be making, since each faction has their faction specifics? Probably, but there could be a big debate to be made there that they need the population support just as much for balancing, or you just have NS specific stuff, NS specific tanks and vehicles and whatnot. Keep them a little bland. I don't think anybody will have a problem with the NS mercenary faction being the least OP and the least bland, or the most bland of them, considering they're not faction specific. They're there to help with balancing and population. I mean, another thing they could do is just have NS mercenaries as AIs, and as long as they're not too OP, but they help with the population, at the very least they can be a good cannon fodder for any faction that doesn't quite have the numbers to contest on alerts. I think any step in fixing that population be greatly accepted, because I know just the queue that's been I've seen for alerts has helped. It's nice. It does help. It does work, but I don't think it works enough, or doesn't. It just keeps enemies off the battlefield. It keeps the enemies from getting overpopped. It doesn't keep your team populated. So I think this would be a nice step in that direction. As far as all that goes, I think that would be just a perfect idea. I mean, more pros and cons. I mean, having another faction means splitting people. I mean, another thing I could see is the NS faction becomes a lot more used than the actual factions. I could see this being an issue with a lot of players. Me personally, I could see that being a realistic scenario where, you have the diehard loyalist and then being forced to recruit these mercenaries into your faction. Another thing is I could see resentment towards players that would play this fourth faction, as there is already resentment for people who, I forget the YouTuber I saw, forgive me, but he called it fourth factioning when you just simply play all four factions or all three factions like I do, and call them the fourth factioners. A lot of those guys get heat and flack. But, I think it'd be an interesting take. I think it would help with population. And I think Planetside definitely needs something new, even if it's not entirely good or the best, just to kind of re-spark the game a little bit, I'm not expecting this to happen overnight, but if they were to take it seriously under consideration, a year or two they do this, and then they rebrand the game a little bit. Maybe even work on fixing some of the locations on the map to make them, if not better fighting locations, just a little more graphically better. And, but that's from a guy who plays on console, and I know the PS4 does kind of struggle with what it's got as it is. But take all this into consideration. I just want to hear some feedback. Maybe spread it around if you think it's a good idea, or put it on the forums and you have them bustling about it there. That's really not the initiative I'm going to take. I'm kind of lazy. I just think it'd be a cool concept. I play multiple games, so I'd like to see Planetside succeed. It is currently my favorite game out there. It's not just a concept game. It's not a concept that you can have these huge scale battles that no other game can give you. It's actually here. It's just sadly it suffers a lot of issues as a product of being such a big, endeavoring, type of game, a big scale You know, it's just something big to wrap your head around. You know, how much work goes into such a huge project. You know, it really does take a lot, I'm sure, to make such a good game like this. And I hope NetherRealm, you know, is it NetherRealm? You know what? I'm thinking of Mortal Kombat over here, Daybreak. Pretty sure those are the company. You know, I just hope the company, but I'm pretty sure it's Daybreak actually. You know, they make their money's worth on this game, and they make enough to support another Planetside game, or just maybe not even Planetside. Maybe they ditch the whole Planetside and go to another huge scale game like this, but I don't know, Cowboys and Indians or something, freaking World War One. I don't care, just something big like this, because a game like this kind of comes around, hopefully not once in a lifetime. Hopefully, I won't be looking back in 5 or 10 years and being like, man, I haven't seen a huge scale fighting game like Planetside in forever. You know, so. And it's liable. It's likely that Planetside will last. There'll still be, you know, it'll still be a operational game that the devs work on in 5 or 10 years. You know, that's just the kind of scale that goes into making a game like this. But I hope y'all kind of enjoyed the commentary, the idea, the thought. I feel like I may not be covering everything or giving this topic the justice it deserves. So if you feel as if you can do so, feel free to go on the forums and do so, because this was just kind of to get everybody's eyes opened and kind of get the ball rolling on this kind of topic. I don't expect anything crazy to come from it, but if it does, you know, cool beans. I just think it's a cool idea, and I like that so many of the people I talk to on PS4 are still very hopeful for this game. I don't know the environment on the PC, but us on console that play this game, that do know the details of the game, we definitely are very, very supportive of the game, in the sense that we want it to go places. We want things to happen. We feel like change could happen. You know, is this the most pressing issue that the devs need to worry about? There's a big debate there. I doubt it. But I think change, whether good or bad, probably needs to happen. Just something a little new. I think, but my personal biggest thing is I want population fixed. As a platoon and squad commander, or a squad leader or platoon commander, you know, I try, if population isn't with you, you're done. I mean, the war is pretty much over. You can push to their warp gate. Well, you can push almost to their warp gate, and very rarely to their warp gate. And that's all you're going to be doing. And we're talking doing that down side lanes where the fighting just isn't that intense. Because on console, you know, the only places that are really getting attention, like you can see here, is Crown and all the surrounding bases like TI Alloys and whatnot. They get a lot of attention, but if you really kind of break it down and go into the side lanes, you know, defenders tend to be consistent of 2 or 3 guys, whereas attackers tend to be like a squad at the most, and it's generally a proper outfit doing all the work. And I say a squad, so, you know, give me your feedback. I'm gonna let the rest of the footage run. If there's another, you know, so long of good footage. So if you enjoyed this idea, feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe if you want more content, and, you know, or just comment saying you want more content, and, you know, I'll definitely feel free to do that. I try to cater to people's wants, and I don't want to say needs, but you get what I'm going for, I think. So yeah, boom, sign.
close in on victory.
Ain't nothing gonna hold us. Put the devil to the side. Got an angel on my shoulder. And I'm like, hello. It's good to finally let go. I ain't worried about a thing. I just like to keep it mellow. Yeah, I like to keep it mellow. I smoke and keep